Bigger, this one. Hi, Hannah. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Steve.
Great. So we've got about 15 minutes. So it's going to be a bit of Q&A between myself and Hannah. I've spent a bit of time with Hannah, one of the brightest, but also one of the nicest people I've met in the industry. So I think you'll learn a lot from the session. We hope there might be time for a question, but it's quite tight. So bear with us. I'm going to start from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So we're living in oh God, it feels like Mudfest. We are living in a world where there is so much around us, so many things going on. So difficult for consumers when they're walking into a retail store, looking online to grab your attention, which is why Dragonfly exists. But what can Reckitt do to cut through all that noise using artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so Reckitt sells products like Durex, Finish, Airwick, and Nurofen, and so we sell them in the supermarkets that you'll all be aware of in the UK, like Tesco's, and we have to cut through on that shelf. But then when we move to the digital shelf, it's even more cluttered. We've got more competitors, and so we're using two different examples of AI at the moment in that respect. So the first one is using AI for auditing. So we're using a company called Creative X to help us understand if the distinctive brand assets that we can see and know at the shelf in the store, if they're coming across online as well, if our content has got the same visual impact in the physical and the digital shelf. And then you'll be pleased to hear, Steve, of course, we're using Dragonfly AI to take it the next step. So instead of just checking and auditing that our assets are present and correct, but then we're seeing where we can get the most attention. So we're putting our assets into the context of the platform, like Amazon or Tesco.com or Sainsbury's, and then we're understanding what share of attention our assets get on that cluttered shelf versus our competition, and then we can work to improve that content and try and get more share of attention. And we actually use it reactively as well. So if we notice a conversion rate decline in one of our products, for example, on Amazon, we start to look at the attention score of that product within that keyword term and start to say, if our share of attention has declined since we last looked at it a month ago, maybe that's one element we should consider along with the other 4 Ps as to why potentially we might be losing some of our share.
That's brilliant and very clear as well. Thank you. Well, when it comes to more traditional media, how are you guys using AI in the more kind of traditional retail view?
Yeah, so similarly, we're also using the same tools, so the same Creative X audit tools for all of our traditional media across any of our video content, static content, to assess distinctive brand assets and also to check that it's fit for platform. So, we're obviously advertising on the big players, Meta, Google, and we have to create our content that works for those platforms. So yes. We're using AI in that respect, and we really excitedly launched some pilots and announced them in Cannes last week. Our CMO announced some new pilots that we're entering to start using Gen AI in some more areas of our marketing process, whether that be the insights generation or the concept writing within insights and analytics.
Wow, amazing. So at Dragonfly, one thing we're really passionate about, we're a bit nerdy, one thing we're really passionate about is KPIs, about measurement. And you've talked a lot about trialing things that sounds amazing in Cannes. Sure you'll be there next year as well, winning next year. But can you talk a little bit about how you can find return on investment, how you can justify some of these things, and this is going to work, yes.
So there's a slide that we prepared to help you guys with this question. So so it is really important that when we're starting to use new tools, we understand the return on investment. And so this is a live case. The figures are representative, of course, but this is our Durex brand, and this is a hero image that we have in Germany on Amazon. So the one that you see on the left-hand side is the pack as you would see it at shelf in store. And this was our hero image on Amazon. We did notice our conversion rate was declining, and of course, after assessing the other 4 P levers, we then started to look at how we could stand out on the digital shelf. So we made 2 really small changes. You can see them. The yellow banner basically says value pack, and then we've called out the amount of products in the pack in a different color. And using Dragonfly AI, we put this new image in context. And we saw an increase in our attention score, 80 to 90 basis points. But the important next step that we took, because this is not a proven technology within Reckitt yet, was we ran Amazon A/B testing. So anyone that sells on Amazon will be aware that you can run A/B testing live in their Vendor Central platform. So we validated the exact same comparison, and we did validate. It gave us a 20 to 30 basis points improvement in conversion. And if you flip to the next slide, Steve, I think you might think, 20 basis points here, there on conversion, it's not going to change the world. And it's not. But we are restricted to what Amazon and any of the platforms that we sell on enable us to actually do. So we can optimize our products in line with our brand distinctive assets. And that might get us, 10K, 20K, 50K. But if we make those same optimizations across the whole brand, that soon becomes 500K. And then if we start to take that, that brand in all of the markets that we sell it on Amazon, that soon kind of becomes small gains executed at scale into a compounding excellence, which could be worth millions in your conversion rate improvement.
And I'd say, Reckitt, yourself are incredibly advanced in the way that you're looking at the return on investment. You mentioned the Amazon thing there. I think a lot of people might not have even heard of it. I think we were incredibly, we were cheering, I think, when we got the results of Dragonfly to hear it. How long does a test like this take, start to end? Because I know there's a lot of data you collect in it.
Yeah, so I mean, with Dragonfly, it's instant. I think I'm doing your sales pitch for you, Steve.
Thank you.
So with Dragonfly, it's instant. We can get the attention metric of our content in platform or in the studio instantly. With an Amazon A/B test, it's anything from 4 to 8 weeks. They run that test. It's automatically run in the platform, and it's basically based on when you've had enough views on your product page and enough converts. It classifies it as statistically significant. So it's determined by the amount of people that are buying your products. And for global market-leading brands, it's normally within the 4-week window.
And I did want everyone to hear that, because I hear sometimes you see, quite flashy ROI stories or, just metrics. But I think the diligence to go to that 4 to 8 week process, what Amazon have done, I think is quite incredible in measuring that. So sorry to go deep on that, but I think it's good. It's important for us to hear when we're trying to create these tools and make sure they're effective. It's not always easy, though, is it? It'd be nice if everything worked first time. Tell me a little bit, what kind of challenges do you have to overcome in the use of products like this, in AI products in Reckitt?
Yeah, I think, so we work, I lead digital capabilities, which is, within our e-commerce area of the business, so retail media and consumer experience. And already that's a smaller part of our business than the traditional sales and the traditional marketing areas. And so we do have different metrics and KPIs that we look at, but we've trained the business on these KPIs. We've got glance views, conversion rate. It's terminology that the business and the management team are now used to hearing. And then we layer on Dragonfly AI and we start talking about another metric, an attention metric, and that's completely new. So the biggest challenge we had is the translation of that. Yes. And the easiest way to explain it is really just, it's like learning a new language. At the beginning, you're constantly returning back to your native tongue. How does this translate? And so for us, that was, how does the attention metric translate into a conversion rate metric? And let's talk about that, because the business understands it at this point in time. And slowly, we'll learn the new language, and we won't need to keep translating it back into a different language. And I'm sure there'll be many more things that come with the AI evolution that I don't know how to translate just yet, but we'll figure it out.
And is that part of the process, you feel, then, is getting that language out there? Because it's such a large organization to change, such an important organization, because it touches our every life. But to get out a tool like this so wide, do you think that's the key to it? Is it this retranslation of KPIs and
It certainly helps everybody talk. You set a level playing field, and you can actually have a conversation with more people. And that's more important than being really true to the terminology and staying in a small pocket of the business. And we're really lucky. Our CMO and our CTO are really enthusiastic and putting a front foot forward in AI, so they're willing to learn and want to learn.
I think that makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Leadership's view on technology can really, really help. You mentioned a little bit, almost like equality in that, which is when you're looking at speed and scalability in retail. We talked a lot about making sure everyone gets a consistent experience. Talk to me about how you kind of get these products all the way across Reckitt, in such a speedy and scalable way.
Yeah, I think this has been a huge win for us. So we are in the global capabilities team, and it's really important for us that when we launch something or bring a new partner on board, we try and give access to as many markets as possible. And often we do, for example, with content testing, we do it in our big countries. That's where we've got our research budgets, it's where we've got our bigger teams, and we use those as representative for a region. So in Latin America, for example, we would do all of our testing in Mexico and Brazil.
Yes.
But with Dragonfly AI and with other AI tools that we have, we can now do the same amount of testing in Colombia and Chile as we can in Mexico and Brazil. So we've created that kind of common metric, common standardized approach for content testing that can be accessed by a one-man team or a 10-man team or a 10-woman team. That really helps us reach all of our countries and give them the same ability to data-driven decisions.
So I love that idea of just creating a level playing field no matter the size of the country or part of the organization. I think that's a really nice kind of benefit, I think, of these kind of tools. I'll go off script now. So we've been around today, both of us looking, and at Dragonfly, we're over in the attention tent. We'd love to see you if you get the chance. But there are amazing tools. We're like, and we feel like humbled to be part of I think we're all in a bit of a change going on in our industry, and we just see ourselves as one sort of small part of that. And I guess that's my kind of unprompted question for you to see how you handle it, is what do you see the future of all these tools working together? How can you make sense of all of these? And do you have, when you're looking forward, do you have a plan for how you can get these ideas to all work together?
Yeah, so I think, I've mentioned a couple of different tools that we use together already in Reckitt, and they are AI tools specifically, but there are plenty of other automations and tools and systems that we're using, and at the moment, we're using them in silos. So one team is using one tool, another team is using another tool, or even the same team is using 3 different tools. Right. And I think the future is when those tools are talking to each other and you're no longer having to log in and access various different things. The human isn't having to go into something, take something back out of it, put something into another tool or platform. And so a connected ecosystem where your product information management system for e-commerce with all of your content is putting your content out to all of the different channels, quick commerce, e-grocery and Amazon, and then it's automatically testing that in context as it goes. So it's connecting the full ecosystem.
That's right. It's a big vision because you're going to have, I guess, all of these tools talking in. Well, you're very good at metrics, but all of these tools talking in constant metrics on the way through. But I think, I agree with you. Do you feel the usability of some of these tools are there? What do you think are the weak spot of some of these tools you're seeing? Because I agree with you. If you can find a way to put it into a process, so it works seamlessly throughout, that's got to be the nirvana. In the meanwhile, here we all are. What would you say are the weakness or improvements you can see in tools like this?
I mean, I think certainly Dragonfly is actually very, very user-friendly, and at the moment, when it is largely human-led, at least in our organisation, they do need to be really user-friendly because you're not going to get people to try them and test them and start ingraining them into the business if they don't find them easy to use.
Got it.
In the future, if it's in a connected ecosystem and it doesn't need to be, you no longer need to spend that time on creating that interface for a human because there is just one interface and then the 4 other pieces of technology are combined in the back end.
I think you have a really strong vision here, and I think when we started working with you and just seeing how quickly you're adopting these tools and also putting discipline and measurement throughout it, I've no doubt you're going to get to your vision. So I just wanted to say, so for myself and from Dragonfly, a huge thank you for explaining that journey. Hopefully it's been as helpful to everyone else as it has been to us at Dragonfly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. I think that was a really interesting conversation. One question that I had, Hannah, was when you're building these capabilities out across the world, how do you decide when something is important enough to build like a centre of excellence or a capability that you push out into different markets? Because it seems like you've created a really great system for how you do things at scale across regions and across the globe, which many orgs struggle with. So I just wondered a little bit about the process of how you determine that and then push go almost.
Yeah, it's actually something that we were kind of talking about a little bit over lunch, and we work with a pull model, certainly in e-commerce, again, because it is 14% of Reckitt's business, so we're not the biggest function within the business. So when we've got new ideas about new capabilities, we'll start seeding them with a couple of champions. So we've got what we call super users for various different areas within retail media, within consumer experience, and we'll start seeding that idea. And then we find a challenge or a business problem or a process that it solves. And then they become our champions. They start asking more for it. They start telling their peers, because the markets, from our perspective, talk more to each other than they do to the central function. And when we get that demand coming in, it's really quite easy then to ask, above to create a bigger team to support it. So we try to work more from a pull versus a push model.
Yeah, and embedding advocacy in the business. I really like that. That's great. Well, unfortunately, we don't have any more time for any more questions, but that was a wonderful conversation. So please put your hands together for Hannah and Steve.
Thank you.